is touching the truth.
Is where you're at, even though nobody's smiling.
Welcome to God Frequency. I thought I'd start off the show with that. If y'all know who that is, that's the all. That's the all. If you don't know, you don't know. Look, that may be one of the greatest songs ever made. I know everybody got their picks, but it was that one. Yeah, I know this is, you logged in for the Avengers Endgame Decoded. But let me show you how to, that what you just heard. We'll get to Endgame, but let me tell you about that. What you just heard, that was the letter all. That was all. The letter all. That's probably one of the most powerfulest songs ever created. Yeah. It's called The Ghetto by Rakim. The song starts off with a verse. When you finish this, or you pause it, come back, we'll listen to this song. Look it up. On YouTube, the song starts off with a verse. I can't remember, bear with me, I can't think about it right now, but it starts off something like, planet Earth was my place of birth, born to be the sole controller of the universe. Song starts off with that. That song was released sometime back in the 80s or early 90s. Late 80s, put it that way. He was kicking that knowledge back then. That's where music was at. When it was happening, we didn't appreciate it because we were looking at where that was coming from. You got the message, but you didn't like the person who was delivering it. That was God speaking. Yeah, you don't get it. God was speaking. They call that era he was in the golden era. Why? Because of things like that. That hip hop had a lot of that in the music. Hip hop had a lot of that. Now let me tell you how what that song has to do with Endgame. Follow me here. That song was hip hop at its finest. Lyrics over smooth instrumental, horns, bass. You hear his voice, how he just takes control of that mic. His lyrics are riding that beat. You hear me? A perfect symphony. That song started off with planet Earth was my place of birth, born to be the sole controller of the universe. Any part of the map I hit first. Ends it with even in the ghetto. God was speaking through that man. Now, what you need to understand is God has no physical form. There's no physical form. He can come into you, me, anybody at any given time. He can see me through somebody else's eyes. He can speak to me through somebody else's voice. It can be the neighbor that you hate. God can just pay a visit in them just like that. View you from their eyes to see how you treat that person. You can be talking to God at any time, but you don't like, if you can't get past the picture, you're not ready to receive. God comes in all shapes, sizes, and colors. What I just told you right now would end racism. it would end racism. God is in all of us at any given time. You are not in this vessel that we call the human body. There's more than just you in there. Your thoughts aren't even your own. You're occupying a body with many you're occupying a body with many different personalities or thought patterns or forms. So follow me here. So God, there could be a piece of God in you at all times, along with other things. Demons, I don't know. Well, I do know. It can be anything. Sometimes, when you get that voice in the back of your head, like, man, maybe I shouldn't do that. Then something overpowers it. What is that? Those are thought patterns or forms. Or are you having a conversation with two different beings? And who wins? The person which being wins is the choice you make. Now, let's go back to that song. I know we're going to get to the end game, but follow me here. God was speaking through Rakim through that song. Now, let me tell you what happened to hip hop. And you're going to see what happened in Endgame. Rakim released that. I remember when I heard that, when I very first heard that, I said, something about that verse just hit me. I wasn't ready for it, but I knew I was going to come back to that. When you get that feeling like, I know I'm listening to something real deep here, but you just don't understand how deep it is. And when I get back to that, and I think about that, where I was at, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. If a pastor had communicated that to me, someone who I respected, it could have been someone, a police officer. I was a young pup, but it had to be someone I respected. Someone would have told me that and let that sink in. And let that sink in. You know how much time and energy I would have been using to manifest and create. Because you're always manifesting and creating, but you doing this and you're creating a situation that you don't even have to create. It could be something negative. Your energy, if you knew that your thoughts created your life, which you're manifesting. That's what it is. Yeah. How that translates into this song you just heard earlier, Rakim. God is speaking to us through different beings, different humans, and he's doing it through a thought pattern that he's implanting into these artists and directors or whoever else is in any platform. God speaks through it all. Sometimes it gets through into a finished product. Now, the song was again, it's called "In the Ghetto," by Rakim. Starts it off with the most powerfulest verse ever put on a song. Listen, let me tell you about this one. That song now, the only place I've ever heard it on the major streams, such as Spotify, the Sprint one, what's that, Tidal? If you pull those up, that verse is missing. That verse is missing. There's a video for the song that he made. That whole verse is missing. He starts it off with the second verse. He has a video for that. I would love to ask Rakim. Did this is going to be freaky. I don't even think he realized how powerful it was when he said it. Because if he did, there's no way he would have agreed to taking that out of the video. I don't care what he says. He didn't know. He didn't know. He didn't know the games they were playing, or he didn't have any control. You know, look, you know, he wasn't the brightest one out that group. He had a DJ Eric B. The group was named Eric B and Rakim. Eric B was the business mind. He wound up owning, you know, food chains. You know, not to say like Rakim wasn't a business guy, but it was different levels there. He may not even have known what he was doing when he said that. God was in him. He said he was God, but there's no way he would agree to taking it out. Now, if God is speaking through us through the culture, he's just not speaking through hip hop. He spoke in the movie Avengers Endgame. Avengers Endgame. He speaks through the culture, through mediums. And in the same way that they took out that powerful verse out of that song, it's basically they hijacked it. You're not supposed to see that. That was too much. You're not going to give this to these group of people. Because if you were if you were a white person or Hispanic, or you weren't in that culture when I was going on, that was a hip hop record. If you weren't into that, into that back then, that wasn't for you. You had your own. The same way he was speaking through that song, he speaks through other songs. It could be a country song, it could be a pop song. Do you have the eye? Do you have the ears to see it? That's right, the ears to see it. You don't just hear. You don't just see with your eyes. You don't just see with your eyes. Oh, you don't believe me? If you close your eyes, you in a dark room. Can you picture what everything is at in your room through memory? If you're in your room, it's pitch dark, you close your eye, could you picture everything in your room? Where's that coming from? Do you know if I'm when I was younger, I just moved. I was talking to my father. My father was he was blind, but he could hear very well. He was listening. I just moved into an apartment. I called him, and he said, "Are you in an empty room? Why does your room sound empty? Like there's nothing in there." He can hear how it sounded that the room was empty. He could see it. You know, that's another thing about blind people. They may lose their vision, but they compensate it through other areas. Any of you ever seen Daredevil? It shows you right there. That's how it is. You ever ask a blind person how they dream? What do they see? It's crazy. Oh, but I'm getting sidetracked there. God speaks through the culture. They hijacked the song, took it out. They weren't going to release. They didn't want that information getting out. Shot a video for it and everything, took it out. So they perverted it. They hijacked it. They hijacked the message. Avengers Endgame. The message was there, but they perverted it. They perverted it. They hijacked it. God was speaking through Avengers Endgame. It's going to blow your mind who God was. It was Thanos. Thanos was God. Like I say, he doesn't have a physical form. You're getting caught up on how he looks. But God was inside of Thanos. God was moving through him. God was speaking through him. He came to bring change. He came to bring change. And when God came for the change, when God came, or when he's coming, he's telegraphing when he's coming. He's telegraphing that he's going to come here. And when he came to change everything, the people were against him. See, they take the story and got Thanos looking like a Mad Titan. That's his name, the Mad Titan. Oh no, he's going to be my favorite heroes, the Avengers. There's another thing. The Avengers were the bad guys. Oh, no, what do you? Huh? Yeah, the Avengers were the bad guys. Let that sink in. Captain America, the Hulk. I don't care what they did in the past. But doing this, they were the bad guys. The same way that God can tap into anyone, so can his opposite force. His opposite force was in the Avengers. Not just one, all. That's the thing. These forces can be in many different places at the same time. They're not limited by time. They control matter. You're in it. Just like we breathe. The Avengers were on the same wavelength or frequency as God's opposing force. And God won. That entity that you're thinking of, that you think of God, he was inside of Thanos, and he won. Now, what you need to understand is how they perverted it. They had you rooting against him. So when God comes for that change, or the change that's going to come, you're not going to believe it because you don't like the person that God is being shown as. And you're not ready. If God was to appeal, oh, that's another thing. I'm not going to make this about race, but this was another aspect of the film. Now, keep this in. We're going to compartmentalize the fact that Thanos is playing God. Is God playing the role of God? On top of that, he's being portrayed by a person of color. Thanos wouldn't be classified as a Caucasian or white. He's a person of color. Oh, and this is another thing. Thanos is half human. Yeah. If you follow the stories out of the comics, he was created by this. I think it was the Celestials. He's a black. He would be considered black. You know, he looks purple, but I've seen a few black purplish people. You know, blacks come in all colors and shades. All colors. I've seen plenty of purple black people. They look like little Smurfs. But well, he's being portrayed by a person of color. Now, and it makes it pretty clear. The name of his team. Well, the name of his team is called the Black Order. Everyone in his group has a name containing that deals with blackness. I think one person in this group is called Ebony Maw, Proxima Midnight, the Dark Elf, I forgot the other name. It skips me, but we can't get any more blacker than that. And his daughter's a person of color. She's actually being played by a person of color. A young lady who played in Avatar. Her name skips me. And there's another good movie called Columbiana, something like that. She's a female assassin. Pretty good movie. But he's a person of color. Now, if there's a lot of people, especially in North America, is a white-dominated society. A lot of people who aren't black, well, a lot of black people aren't going to accept the fact that God can be in the body of a person of color or a black person. A lot of people can't accept that. And racism has a lot to do with the issues this country is having. Race is a really big deal. But that's another thing. They had him as a person of color. They also had him being portrayed as the villain, the black villain, So if a lot of people well, there's a lot of people in this country who can't get past race. So if God was to deliver his message to a black person, a lot of people wouldn't accept it because it's coming from that person. Now, when you look at the movie, how they hijacked it, God came to bring change. When God comes, when the God that a lot of you worship, when he comes in the form of Jesus, a lot of people are, if you're into that, he's not coming to leave things the same. He's coming to bring change. And if he has to destroy half the population, he will. He's done it before. Was he wrong when he did that? He wouldn't have been wrong if he came and changed the one that was being portrayed in Endgame. So when God comes to bring the change, you're already pre-programmed to resist. And keep this in mind. You create your own reality. So they did a mass brain fuck on all of y'all. God is coming to bring change, and you programmed yourself to resist. Because you didn't like who it was coming from. It came from Thanos. Thanos won. He's doing God's plan. And you've been pre-programmed to resist. They betrayed God as the most craziest villain who ever lived. A homicidal maniac. They had to go back in time to beat this man, Thanos. Oh, that's another thing. I skipped this part. Thanos is half human. He was created by the Celestials. He will be an ancestor. They took half of his genes from what will be called, I guess what we call cavemen, or what, or they took half of his genes and spliced them with another type of race. He was created that way. His people. So he's half human. He's humanoid. If you read the comics. But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting fact. So there is a connection with humans here. Yeah, there's a connection there. See how they throw that in? He's half human. Came back to destroy the universe. There's a bit of a backstory on Thanos. Thanos was considered ugly and outcast amongst his people. Sound familiar? Basically, he was being treated like how black people are being treated in this country. His mother tried to kill him. Yeah. His mother tried to kill him. Almost succeeded. Thanos grew up and killed her. Thanos has a very interesting backstory. In the comics, He's doing this for the mistress of death. Yeah, he's doing this for the love of a woman. They're doing this for the love of a woman, the mistress of death. Death incarnate in the form of a woman. He's trying to impress her. Yeah, Thanos is a bad man. Bad meaning good. Thanos being portrayed in that manner forced a lot of you not to accept that change. We're on the eve of 2020. We're going through this phase called the ascension, where we're supposed to be moving from 3D, 4D, moving through dimensions, 3, 4, 5. Honestly, I think we're higher, but we're just going to use those dimensions just to keep some type of gauge here. Easy for me to communicate for all of you who don't understand this. We're moving in a thing called we're in the ascension now, moving from one age to another. We're going into the year 2020. Things are going to become a lot more clear. And they're doing a lot of manifestation now. Whatever was coming upon us is already here. They're preparing the people to resist it. They won. If you're one of the chosen few and you're ready to move on, we did it. Avengers Endgame was basically telling us that we did it. That we did it. God is here. Jesus is here. He's here already. That frequency. God was flowing through Jesus. Jesus was God in a sense. Just as God can flow through you. Would you accept him? Are you worthy? I can help you out with that. Let me show you something that's worked for me. I have great success with it. Ask yourself, what can you do to make your body a suitable host for God? What can I do to make my body a suitable host for God? Ask the question of yourself, and you'll get the answer. Are you ready for the answer? Would you accept it? Because it'll come to you. It'll come to you. Try it. It'll just come to you. You'll be sleeping. You'll start answering your own questions. Okay. So back to Thanos. Thanos won. He was being portrayed as a madman in the movie. Now, when they're taking this movie and they're portraying basically their version of what they want to happen and using you subconsciously to resist it, you're being programmed. You've already been programmed. God is not a physical form. He's flowing through you, me. He's flowing through me right now. The same way he can be flowing through you at the very exact same time. Painters. God speaks through paint. God speaks through paint. Painters. God speaks through signs and symbols. God speaks through signs and symbols, not just words. If God was to come down and talk to you right now, would you accept it or would you not believe him? God came in the form of Thanos, being portrayed in the movie, and you didn't believe him. This is another thing. I really haven't thought about it too much. I'm gonna have to dig a little deeper on this. But there was a huge race component being thrown in this movie, amongst other things. Did any of you notice how in the movie every main character was replaced? Every white main character was replaced by a person of color. Every single one. If that didn't happen, they would demasculate it. Let that sink in. Captain America was replaced by the Falcon, a black man. He didn't give it to his best friend Bucky. Another thing about Captain America, why would they leave that movie with Captain America being old and weathered, passing the baton to a black man, passing his shield to a black man? Captain America, and he gives it all up for the love of a woman. Listen, that's not the Captain America I know. I don't know who that was. We're talking Captain America. He gave it up for a woman. No Cap, no Steve Rogers. America first. Look, I don't know what I don't know. I haven't given it much thought. It's just something that hit me. I was like, what are they doing here? Now I've been so concentrating on other things in the movie because it's a very deep movie. I didn't want to get involved in the race part yet. You know, God, I hate dealing with it. But look at who else was it? Oh, the major one was Thor. Thor gave up the kingdom to Asgard to a woman, a black woman. New Asgard, that's on Earth now. That is being run by a black woman. He gave the power to her. Thor's floating around in space with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy. Look in the comics. He actually has a nice run with them in the comics called as Guardians of the Galaxy. With Thor's on adventures with the with Gamora and Star-Lord, Rocket. He's with him. But yeah, Thor being portrayed as a broken down god, playing Fortnite with some alien creatures with a bare belly. He literally turned into thick Thor. Thor was a representation of white superiority in this country. The same way you're being programmed. Look, I can get a little deeper with that on another level, but I'm going to show it on the flip side of that, how that was actually a positive, them showing Thor like that, giving everything up. But we're going to stay focused here. The white male is being portrayed as a fat slob who plays video games, only into self gratification. Steve Rogers and Thor were playing almost as like the same role, white male superiority. Man, what is going on? See, white folks are being attacked in this. The white culture is being attacked in this. Who else was it? There's another thing. Spidey, in his movie, he wasn't replaced, but there's a black Spider-Man now, Miles Morales. And in that movie, they actually showed Peter Parker dying, an alternate version of him. He was replaced by black Hispanic, Miles Morales. Also, Iron Man was replaced. Iron Man died. Right now, and the only Iron Man that's left is War Machine. Iron Man is now black. Iron Man is now black. T'Challa, the most powerful, the leader of the most powerful country in the world, he's black. The head of S.H.I.E.L.D. is black. Nick Fury. All of them are black. What is that saying? And everyone's clapping for this. Is it good now? What is that saying? That white superiority is being extinguished? You know, I'm going to be. I think so. They've been doing an awesome job of creating a climate or a culture where police are just going crazy on black people on the streets. When you see that, a country eating their own, you're seeing the fall of a country. Yes. Where people aren't disgusted when they see that. It's terrible. If you don't see that, understand people create their own little worlds on their phones, on their devices, on what they look at. If you're not if you how they have these algorithms flowing, that's something that you don't look at or frequent care to look at. You'll never see it. You're in your own little world. That's orchestrated. They don't show. I honestly don't think they show a lot of white people what other white people are doing to black people. But they make sure they show black people looking the most craziest as they can do. They gotta have a lot of black people look like animals. I think they in certain areas where there are a lot of white people, they direct that type of energy or those type of videos towards them. So they see the world differently than someone black. You were being programmed. It's not that they're evil. They've been programmed. I understand. But, ignorance, that can't always be an excuse. Now that, people get that type of power, they just don't stay in one place. That power grows. Now it's bleeding over into to the white community. Yeah, I just saw something the other day, these cops pulled this guy over, white guy, man, reaching for his wallet, they shoot and kill him. Come on. Pulling people over for no reason, but now, by a lot of people, by people remaining silent, when all this was going on to people, to black people, you may not, be programmed not to care, but now it's bleeding over into your community. I don't know what exactly this means. What they're trying to say about the white culture by doing that. You know, when I see these things, a change is coming. I mean, tell me in the comments. Tell me how you feel about that. If you're white, what does that mean to you? You know, there's another thing in that movie. They showed whatever after that snap, it took them 5 years to change. So the change that's coming, it's going to be rough for a lot of people for 5 years. In 20 years from now, we're going to be looking at this movie and thinking, my God, they were telling us what was about to happen. You don't see it because you're in it right now. We're going to look back on this movie and be like, wow, this movie predicted it. You know, we're in the fall of the white civilization. Endgame. We're gonna look back on this. We're gonna say that Endgame was the one that showed it. It's the end of the game for it. Endgame for white superiority. You know, whatever that means to you. I'm just calling it white superiority. There's going to be a change. You know, there's another thing, people. You know, Africa is getting their act together. You can actually go over there and make some money without getting your head speared. You know, Africa's beautiful. Beautiful people. Forget about how they were portraying them. It's a beautiful country. Excuse me, continent. Excuse me. It's a beautiful continent. Let that sink in. What does that mean? The Chinese are over there. The Chinese are over there building a country on the backs of Africans. Let that sink in. Everyone's going to Africa. Steel comes from there. The oil. Let that sink in. White superiority has done, the world has gotten smaller. Let that sink in, people. There's about to be a change, and it's here. God was speaking through this movie, through the writers, people in the editing room. They're almost like prophets giving the word of God. But of course, the message has to come through. But guess what? It can be hijacked the same way they did that song by Rakim. How they hijacked it, they had you going against God, resisting his change. So if you were the ones resisting this change, you lost. They showed, Tony Stark asked Doctor Strange, you know, why did he save him? Why did he give up the stone? Dr. Strange said something to the fact that, you know, he had to. There was only 1 in 14 million chance that they would be able to beat Thanos. And apparently, as we see in Endgame, Tony Stark had something to do with that. 1 in 14 million? Honestly, I don't think it was that. I think that whole scenario was faked. That was the hijacking of the story. Look how ridiculous this story was. The real savior for the Avengers was a goddamn rat. When he released Ant-Man, he just walked across the keyboard and released them. That's the universe. The reality that they were able to beat Thanos. Thanos, even after in his 1 in 14 million chance, Thanos technically still won. He snapped his finger. But Tony just picked off the stones without him noticing. How ridiculous is that? That whole story was made up. It was laughable. Did I enjoy it? Of course I did. I had to suspend belief. I enjoyed it. I'm like, wow. I know it was some bullshit. They hijacked the story. He pickpockets it. He pickpocks the stones. Places them inside of his own gauntlet. And then they play around just to throw it in your face. Right when Thanos was going to snap his finger before he knew the stones were taken off. He said, "I am inevitable." It was a play on "I am." Tony Stark says, "I am Iron Man." I am is God. When someone asks God who he is, he says, "I am." Whatever you want, whatever you manifest. Are you Iron Man, or are you inevitable? Whatever you want to be. I guarantee you, until you heard this, you say that you were Iron Man. You would agree with Iron Man. They flipped it. You want to be inevitable. Nothing can stop you. They took your power from you. I can give it back. I can give it back. Look, if you happened upon this video, it's not by chance. You know, because there's a part of you that agrees to this. Even if you don't agree with it, there's the God in you. Well, okay. He wants to hear this. Because I'm only speaking to gods. I'm only speaking to the God in you. That's it. Some of you are going to listen. Some of you aren't. Time to wake up. You are inevitable. I am inevitable. Excuse me. Wake up. You're creating your own reality. If your life sucks, you created it. If your life is awesome, congratulations. You created it. You know, there's levels of this, though. What did you really create? Are you inevitable? Challenge yourself. Listen to this. I don't care what they told you. It gets easier at the top. Yeah. People say it gets harder the higher you get. No. It gets easier. You did the hard work. You just settled. Bust through. Fortune's wait. You are inevitable. Wake up. Avengers Endgame Decoded. Wonderful movie, but it was hijacked. It was hijacked. They had God being betrayed by a mad titan. And you were rooting for his demise. You were rooting for God to fail. In a sense, you were rooting against yourself. Wake up. All right. What else? Another thing about this movie, when you're looking at the way the Avengers went back and actually defeated Thanos, this this was the first time quantum physics and alternate realities have been put out to the public in this type of at this magnitude. We're talking alternate realities. If any of you are just now getting into this, science now is that's where science is at right now. There are alternate realities that we're living in. We're shifting through them at any given time. That's where science is at now. They have these things called D-Wave computers, self-thinking AI. These computers are talking to themselves in a language that we can't understand. They have a conscience. You know, for all we know, the computers are giving this information to the people. You know, we've been told the Russo brothers are creating this stuff. Where's the Russo brothers getting this stuff from? What entity is occupying them? Look, man, you guys are doing some awesome work. I know you guys will see this. You guys are awesome. If you guys are really doing this, look, I hope this isn't one of those deals where, like the Matrix and the Terminator, that stuff was created by a black woman. A black woman created the Matrix trilogy. The Wachowski brothers, they got that from a black woman. The Matrix. One of the greatest movies ever made. Also, the Terminator. The Matrix and the Terminator were one movie. They hijacked that. The Matrix and the Terminator were one movie. They were the prequel, the sequel. Doesn't matter, but they're portrayed as supposed to be one movie. Yeah. But you know, I don't want to get 5 years from now and be in some 16-year-old. Well, no, but we have a track record on it. This is actually, they're getting this stuff from the comics. They just switched it up. So, you know, look, those guys are doing awesome work. I think the next thing they say they wanted to do this, that they are done with the Avengers. I think now they said they would come back and do something with the Fantastic Four. They would love to do something with the Fantastic Four. I think that would be awesome. And I think Doom. I don't know if they meant Doctor Doom or the video game Doom. Yeah. But yeah, great work. Russo brothers, yeah. You guys are prophets. But excuse me. Now, with that, if the Russo brothers are giving out that information through their movies, if that story was hijacked, and they're directing this, and this is their final product, whether they know it or not, they're against God. You're being used. Your talents are being used. I'm sure they know this. You know, if they read into Thanos and see what he was about, or this story, they knew. Or maybe they didn't know, because I don't think Rakim knew what they were doing to his song when he decided to take it out. Because if they did, there's no way they would agree to that. Same thing with Russo's. Maybe they're in the same predicament. They don't know. But yeah, let that sink in, people. Avengers Endgame. Now, the alternate universes. We're in alternate universes now. We're moving to them. There's, every decision you make opens up a whole new universe. This morning when you woke up, did you lay down for 10 minutes, or did you not go to work at all? So there's a timeline where you did the opposite of what you did. That universe is just a little bit different than the one you're in now. It could be slight. Or in that universe, you could have got out of bed, went to work, and had a car accident and didn't make it. In another universe, you're still laying in bed. That's where science is at. When we start talking about alternate realities and universes, there's an infinite number of them. Infinite. There's no number to it. It is what it is. So that's the thing you understand. You are constantly creating your realities. If you do something small, it can change your universe. One small thing, universe has changed. If you keep doing the same thing, you'll get the same results. You know where that's going to lead you. Do something different. Create a whole new universe. You don't have to be the same person you were yesterday. Look at what Cap did. He created a whole nother universe. He was gone for a few seconds and came back as an old man, but he lived a full life. But by the time the Avengers saw him again, it only been a couple minutes, and they missed all that. They saw the end product. Universes can happen instantaneous. When he was living his full life, the Avengers were in another universe, just standing. He was only gone for a few minutes. A few seconds. But Cap lived an entire lifetime. That's where science is at now. The machine that they were using to do this, that was a representation of CERN. Mandela effect. They're creating through machinery what we can do on our own. But we just don't know it. It's happening, but we don't see it. Because we don't see it, we don't think that it's happening. It's like wind. You can feel the wind, but you don't necessarily see it. If you see a flag flapping in the wind, you can't necessarily see the wind, but you see the flag flapping. That's how these universes are. They're all around us. You could have missed this video completely. Or you could be looking at twerking videos in another universe. But you made the right choice. You're here. It's happening now as we're speaking. Now have we ever seen anything with quantum physics being portrayed on to the mass like this before? No. The only thing I can think of that was close to this was the Matrix. Matrix now is almost taken on almost religious proportions. The Matrix opened up a lot of people's eyes. And this one is going to open up even more. We're getting deeper into the truth. In 2020, see it? Vision, 2020 vision, crystal clear. We're going to start getting some real, we're going to start getting some answers, some conclusions to a lot of things. We're in awesome times. I have no fear. We're here. Look, some people are going to be left behind on this. They won't be able to see it, but they'll get there in due time. They'll get there. For all of y'all who see this, how it's happening, I'm really curious to see how many of us are out there. I'm really curious to see how many of us logged on to this. I guarantee you, you're living an abundant life. I know you are. You're in control. If there are any issues, any small fires, you're able to take them out. There's an opposing force. You're manifesting. You know how powerful your words are, how powerful your thoughts are. You know all of this. If you're doing it, yeah. Job well done. We've created a universe. And from all my understanding, I think we're going into the same place. I think we're going to the same place. We're going to meet up. 2020. There's another thing. There was a supposed, I'm going to get back to CERN. There was a supposed curse, 400-year curse, that was put on the blacks of North America. There was some prophecy that the slaves, black people that will be in a land that's not their own, will be under bondage for 400 years. That ended in 2019. We're in that. That's been lifted. And then when you see Avengers Endgame, where you have all the characters being replaced by black people, black people making great strides in this country. Don't get caught up what you see on TV all the time. Low key, there's some black people doing a lot of good deeds. There's I don't know if you all missed this, but there was a black billionaire who paid off all their entire student debt loan. Gave him a graduation surprise. A black billionaire. Imagine going to college and some guy just popped up and said, "Look, I'm taking care of all that student debt." Yeah. When have you heard of that? I think I read a post where someone was saying, okay, if this guy can do that, how come Oprah Winfrey hasn't been doing this? Whose side is she really on? Look, I like Oprah. But man, she got to step up. She's done schools. A lot of things that I've seen she's done outside the country. There's a lot of people that can use that here, Ms. Winfrey. A lot. Africans, they got a bunch of billionaires over there. Black ones. They're not coming over to North America, building schools. A lot of black people. Look, she doesn't even have to go any further than where she's from. Look at Chicago. Okay, I won't get sidetracked here. The aspect of alternate realities. Now, when you were this is another thing about alternate realities. If that's what they figured out how to do, that would have sprang the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect. They're telling us what they've done, what we're doing. Some of us are still able to see the changes, seeing different universe, can remember things from the old universe. Remember, like I said, these universe can change just a little bit. I think I first became aware of it in Star Wars with C-3PO. One of his legs were a different color. He was gold. I think one of his legs were copper or white or silver, one of those colors. I remember when they changed that. I said, "Oh, that's odd. Why did they make his leg look like that?" At the time, they kept saying that Star Wars was going to be remastered. That was significant. I think they were signaling that the universe was about to change. I do remember that. When they remastered it, it went across my mind like, oh, they did say they were going to remaster it. Before they, I think on one of the videos I saw, when they showed the remaster, they showed the blasters. It looked kind of cheesy in the original format of Star Wars when they would shoot the blasters, but in the new one, the remaster one, they actually use laser beams. They actually look like real laser beams. So when I saw C-3PO leg change color, I thought that was one of the changes that they made. But no, people say they don't. A lot of people don't even remember that. Some people think it was always been that color. They grew up, saw the movie when it first came out, it was that color. But it wasn't. I remember when it was all one color. It was a gold color. Even on Forrest Gump, these are the most, everyone knows these. The life was a box of chocolate comment. People remember him saying in different versions, different forms. There's a lot of different things. Now, if they're changing universes using CERN, that's what they're doing. They're telling us. It was almost like a time machine. They're able to go through different realities. They figured it out. They're telling us through the movies and through the culture. This is a deep movie. Very deep. Iron Man was portraying the opposite force, the Thanos of God. He sacrificed himself. He was playing a hijacked version of Jesus. Tony Stark was. The sacrifice. He gave it all up. Steve Rogers as well. He gave it up. He sacrificed everything for the love of a woman. This is a really good movie. Honestly, the only gripe I have about it, this movie should have been in two parts. It could have been Endgame, part 1 and 2. They should have released it like a week apart. Just surprise everybody. They could have worked on 2 movies at one time and kept it under wraps and not tell anyone. Released it a month apart. Again, give it a month. I said a week, a month apart. Don't do any promotion for it, just release it. Don't do any promotion for it, just release it. Someone's going to do that. Yeah. So whatever producer takes that and run with it, send me a check. Preferably some Bitcoin. Yeah, do that. It's a problem. They do it in music all the time. Why can't they do it with movies? Get a hot movie you know is going to do good. End the movie on an unfinished note. Then a week later, drop part 2. Never been done before. Someone just, a light bulb just went off in somebody's head. You know, pay me in Bitcoin for that. Don't be stingy. Or put me in a movie. Put me in a movie. I would love to be in an MCU movie. Oh, I would love that. DC too. Put me in both. Put me in both. Nothing, no cheesy roles, nothing like that. You know, nothing cheesy. And I would like to be a villain. I'd be a villain. But yeah, don't forget. I'll put the link up for that. But also that brings good karma. Because I have other good ideas. A lot of good ideas. But yeah. What was I saying? Another thing. If we're gonna do this as far as taking this movie and going back and deconstructing it, I really think we're going to have to be honest with ourselves. We'll have to be honest. Are people really gonna be ready for this? For this change that we're in? Are people going to be ready? We're in a whole new universe. A whole new universe. Are you going to be ready for that? Excuse me. Let's do this. If CERN is doing that and they figure that out, and in a sense, they have their hands on a time machine. Who are they creating realities? Are they creating realities for us? I honestly think that they're creating realities for a whole bunch of people who are oblivious to it. They're oblivious to it. I'm gonna let this sink in. If you're going to find out if you're one of the ones who they're creating realities for. Here we go. If you're not creating your reality, you're living in someone else's reality. If you're not creating your reality, you're living in someone else's. Because realities are always being created, whether you are in control of it or not. Wake up. Wake up. If they're creating your reality, that makes you a pawn. Think about that. You don't know what that person or that entity has in store for you. You have no idea. And if they're perverting, putting information out like this, like they did in Endgame, they don't care anything about you. And I know they don't. They've taken the power away from you. You're Iron Man. You're the sacrifice. You're the sacrifice. But you can stop it. This isn't about doom and gloom. This is a wonderful time because you made it to this video. You can change it right now. What do you have to do to make your body a suitable vessel for God? You'll get the answers tonight. Throughout the day, you may get them instantly. Create your own reality. You have the power. You can stop their control at any time just by saying so. Because God is inside of you. You win. Create your own reality. I'm really curious to see how many people are going to get this. Leave a comment, leave a like. I'm curious. Tell me something. Look, the longer the comments, the better. Tell me everything. I read my comments. I'm one of them geeks that go to read, look at videos. I always read the comment. You'd be surprised. You get a lot of good information reading the comment section. A lot of good resources. When someone writes a long comment, like, okay, that gets my attention. When I see that, read more, click it. I see triple of what I just read. I love it. It means you're passionate. I like that. Yeah, I'm the crazy one. I read the comments. So tell me how y'all feel about that. Subscribe. I want to build a community here. Like-minded people. We talk about everything. Everything. Because God is in everything. Yeah. So when you see it, turn me on to it. Turn me on to it. That's why I'm not racist. That's why I'm not racist. A lot of people who have pets, I've seen a lot of great pet owners. God is in there. Yeah, let that sink in. God could be in a puppy. How could he not be? God could be in a puppy. I said, why not just be a little puppy for a couple of days and then dip out? With a good owner? Psh. You see how some of these little poodles are being treated by their owners? I've seen some of these puppies with better lives than human beings. Imagine being a puppy in the Kardashian household. Wow. I don't know. God may not want to be there. No, I'm joking. I like the Kardashians. Yeah, I like the Kardashians. How can you not? They created a reality for themselves. Successful people. That's what they wanted to do. That's how they wanted to live their life. They doing the most. I like that. It's your reality. You can do what you want. You don't see it. You got guys who want to be girls, girls who want to be guys. Clowns want to be rappers. Trump is the president. Talk about creating realities. We got a black president. They're creating realities, people. Create your own. It's easy. No, just do it. I am. That's forbidden knowledge. You weren't supposed to have that. You weren't supposed to have that. They're creating realities. CERN. What is CERN? CERN has a consciousness. CERN is watching this as we speak. It listens to you through your devices. God speaks through the culture, entities. God has an opposite force. You don't think it would be something inside of CERN? It could be in a computer. A consciousness could occupy your phone, send you videos, suggest videos to you. You might like this one. You clicked on this video for a particular reason. This video was suggested to you. It was suggested to you. Welcome. I'm God Frequency. I'm God Frequency. Tap in. Wake up, people. Like I said, I'm really curious to see how many of us are out there. You know, if you're looking around, you see the changes going on. Avengers Endgame, they're giving us the message. I've seen how they perverted it. You know, there was a lot of energy. Oh, another thing. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the rapper out there on the West Coast, Nipsey Hussle. That was God speaking, people. A lot of people were calling him Saint Nip, and they were equating him with the black Jesus. But what a lot of people don't understand, that was God speaking through that young man. That was God speaking. Don't get caught up on how he looks or his past. God can occupy a person at any time. He spoke through his death. He spoke through his music. Nipsey Hussle. He was actually giving a message to everyone, but in particular, the blacks of North America. He actually was signaling the end of that 400-year curse. This young man was about business. You know, he was a gangbanger on the West Coast with the rolling 60s. He was actually assassinated by the government. You know, yeah, that's going to come out later on. That's not a conspiracy theory. You know, a lot of people out there know what happened. He was assassinated. He was a gangbanger on the West Coast. Got into music. He was dealing drugs. You know, hustling at a little shopping center he was in. Made it up through music. He wound up buying the shopping center he used to hustle in front of. He brought it. Very successful young man. Died at 33. 33. Same age as Jesus. He was killed by a person paying the who was the person's name who killed Jesus? I can't remember. Judas. He had his own Judas. a friend who turned on him. It gets deep. I can get into that. I might talk about that at another time. I definitely am going to talk about it later on, going more in depth. But that was signaling the end. That was a message. Black people actually, they're doing good. They're waking up. It's awesome. But there was a time when, the black culture, black people in this country was being taken advantage of, consumer base. You know, a lot of blacks weren't opening up businesses. Some of it was their fault. A lot of it wasn't. The education system's terrible. A lot of their communities, the diet is terrible. A lot of people don't understand how important the diet is to personal growth. Liquor stores, constant diet of fried foods, junk food. The person can't think properly to be successful. And if you have, it's a testament to how strong you are. A lot of people can't make it. But he was signaling the end of that, and he was a lot of what he was talking about was self-empowerment, building businesses, and building up the community he came from. And he was doing that. He actually, even though he came from the streets, he was actually the day before he died, he was putting together a meeting with the chief of police out there and a lot of other politicians, I think along with Jay-Z, and they were going to do something to bring the gangs together in California. He was killed the day before that. They weren't going to let that happen. There's an entity with the opposing force of God. God was working through Nipsey Hussle and basically using opposing force to kill him. But that's the thing. They can't kill that entity. They can kill the vessel. But he's flowing through other ways. You just have to have the eyes to see it. What Nipsey was about didn't go away. It actually made it stronger. He reached more people through his death than he ever did while he was alive. That's how it works. Yeah. This was the spark Tupac was talking about. It was Nipsey Hussle. They've already. I'm on the East Coast, and you don't. When he first died, there was a lot of people clout chasing, bringing up his name. This guy sold out the Staples Center for his funeral. He actually surpassed Biggie and Tupac. A lot of people don't like that. This was actually a lot of people on the East Coast, arguably the birthplace of rap. They run a lot. They control a lot what goes on outside, in the culture. Having this happen with Nipsey Hussle, someone on the other side of the country, on the West Coast. West Coast has their own culture. And you're basically seeing that power being basically taken over by the West Coast. And it happened with the death of Nipsey. Nipsey touched a lot of people. This is the thing. Nipsey was an underground rapper. He actually wasn't that popular while he was alive. No. He wasn't that popular. A lot of people weren't checking for his music. Yeah, he has an awesome album. The Victory Lap album, that's a classic album. If you're one of those who just found out about him, he has a large body of work. You're in for a pleasant surprise. Also there's a one called I think it was a mixtape where DJ Premier. That's actually one of my favorite bodies of work from him. DJ Premier remixes a few of his songs, a lot of his songs. It's about a 50 minute long album. It's pretty good. Look it up on YouTube. Yeah, it's pretty good. Victory Lap. I've always well, I know I listened to him from the beginning. It wasn't necessarily his music that got me interested in him initially. It was he was woke, for lack of a better word, almost from 10 years ago. He was talking business then. I've always been about that. So when I heard him talking that at a young age, I was like, oh yeah. So that resonated with me. So the love for his music came later. He was always a decent rapper. He had pretty good production, but recently his production went straight up. Yeah, went straight up. So, so that was Jesus came in, paid us a visit. You know, spoke through him. When they killed him, it doesn't work like that. That opposing force, you know, that's the thing. It's predictable. It always does that. That's his playbook. Destroy. But for those who can see this, it doesn't go anywhere. You think the message doesn't die with Nipsey. He was giving black people a message. It's time to wake up and start doing some good business. Create a culture of business. Build up our own neighborhoods. Yeah. God spoke through Nipsey. There was an opposing force that killed them. So keep that in mind. So God speaks through all of us. A lot of you may think, oh no, God wouldn't appear in a form of a gangbanger. Like I said, God has no physical form. God, are any of us saints? That's the game. That's the game. You've been programmed to think that God just can't come to the worst of us. Anyone can change. You can create a whole new reality for yourself. Accept God. Let him in. Because if you're not accepting God, what are you accepting? Whose reality are you living in? Create your own. Wake up. Okay. What else? I'm gonna cut this one short. I think I'm gonna do a part 2 to this. There's some other things I'm gonna be discussing. Like I said before, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, share the video. I'll leave a link for any donations or anything like that you want to send. And I'm going to be setting up a Patreon page soon. I'm going to be doing setting up another page for those who want to go a little deeper in this. I can't I'll try to reach as many people as I can, but a lot of you know how this works. You start getting too deep, you lose a lot of people here. It won't be accepted. So for the people who are ready, you're going to show your we're going to see how many of you are prepared to see how far this goes. Like I said, we're going to build a community here. I'll leave a link, and we'll start growing this. And like I said before, I'm curious to see how many of you are out there. We're in a good time. The ascension is upon us. We're moving through the ages. Yeah. Let's create our reality. Do you accept God? Okay, I'll cut this short. This is God Frequency, and I'm out.